All of Vermont's children's future is at stake.
When you start talking about Social Security, that really upsets me, especially when you say it's unfunded. Social Security is funded. There's no shortfall. We get more social money in from taxes on Social Security than we pay out now. So the government is making money on Social Security right now, and that it has been for a long time. And that trust fund of Social Security will carry us through even many years beyond the point where it's self-funding. So Social Security is insured for everybody up until the year 2040, I believe. Bernie Sanders has told us so. And even beyond that, if a small change in the tax structure, if the people who have incomes over $100,000 a year start paying into Social Security, it will be funded forever for your children, for your grandchildren, for your great-grandchildren. And there's no reason to put Social Security in question. And I hope that if we have an independent Vermont Republic, we are certainly going to have Social Security. And if we put that into question,
that's the only way that we are going to possibility of continuing that. But Social Security is not going to be there. It's not going to be there because we have all the baby boomers coming in to start collecting Social Security. There's not enough workers to support that. It's funded by the workers of today into the future. That money is not there. That money is being used and taken and stolen and used for other programs, borrowed against whatever they do with it. There's not enough money. We're borrowing, I mean, get to the point, we're borrowing $3 billion a day to run that monstrosity in Washington. It's over. The party is over. When we come to those terms and those understandings, and when we start to understand that, then we're going to realize that Vermont will be better off as an independent republic, because we're sending $1.5 billion down the hole. It's not doing anything for us. We could take that money and divert it.
Okay, but now let me ask you the key question.
Okay.
Do you think the federal powers that be would let this happen? Let us say we elect a governor and call him a president and announce.
Well, first, well, you don't call
you know,
him
I mean, I've been reading a book about how the United States undermined the elected president of Haiti. He was elected by the people, 65%, and another time 90%. And I think the U.S. government at this stage in history has probably the most sophisticated system of undermining programs, issues, governments that they want to destroy. And it can be done subtly, it can be done crudely, overtly, whatever. How do you think you could withstand that?
That's why we have to decentralize. The power has to be brought back to the people on the local level, because you can't corrupt the local level. But look at Switzerland. They've been able to maintain their democracy all of these years, the longest living democracy in the history of the world, because they're decentralized. The corporations and the government cannot infiltrate that because it's direct democracy. That's what needs to happen, and that's where we need to go.
Okay, we have no military base here, but we do have the National Guard. Do you think they're going to be happy to have their expense tab cut so that they're not able to go for training in all sorts of exotic places as they are currently being sent to?
Well, if the political will of the people is there, I mean, who do you think they're going to be in favor of? Defending the people of Vermont? If the people rise up and are for what we're talking about, I would bet anything that those soldiers would love to be able to stay here in Vermont and do what they do best, and stay on the terrain that they know, and protect the people of Vermont.
So they wouldn't make a coup of the governor and take over and start a military regime here. Okay, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm just imagining.
Okay.
We brought up several issues that we disagree on, though. Now, the idea of decentralization, I'm opposed to that. I think that, as Robin pointed out, that this would lead to Rutland County turning against Chittenden County, for example, and we would have a conflict there. And the American Empire would probably support Rutland County. And this would be a big problem for a burgeoning independent state of Vermont. And another point, we talk all the time about a president of Vermont. I disagree with that. I think we should have a prime minister. If we're going to have real democracy here, we have to have.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's good. But if the people want to do that, that's fine. I mean, If the people don't want to decentralize, then fine. It's really, we have an unwritten slate. All we are doing is saying, look at Switzerland. It's a good model that we can start with. It's a decentralized form of government, one of the oldest democracies in the world. That's all we're saying. If the people want to do something different, then do it. I mean, that's what freedom is about, and we can rewrite our future for our children. That's the key. I mean, it's limitless.
I'd like to answer Robin's question. Certainly, I think if we appeared to have any kind of success in gaining traction here, in other words, if we got 20, 30%, we would be infiltrated certainly by people like the CIA or whatever rogue agency they'd want to send in, just like they did in Iran and Nicaragua and a million, all these other Central American countries, and overthrew their governments. And that's what they do. If they're unhappy with the government, they overthrow the government, whether it's democratically elected or not. Certainly they would try to do that. That would be a challenge. And many people say, well, we don't have anything they really want. Okay, we don't have oil, we don't have any resources that the federal government is relying on really. And then you brought up a point about militarization. Well, I think we're in great danger right now of that exact thing happening with three things that could be in place in a very short amount of time. And that would be Brian Doobie, who's in the military, his brother Michael Doobie, who's a general of the National Guard, and the arrival of the F-35s. I mean, we're going to be close to any state has ever been to have basically military rulership. I mean, I'm not talking about some Central American country kind of military rulership, but it'll be in place to take orders from the military leadership that we now have in the federal government. And this scares the heck out of me, because these guys that walk lockstep into the policies of Bush, Obama, the slaughter that's going on. I mean, this guy posed in his flight jacket for the Homeland Security after Bush posed for his flight jacket on the aircraft carrier, because he was one of his heroes, and that scares me. I mean, this guy's a mass murderer, George Bush. There's no way around it. I mean, there's been books written. Saddam Hussein has nothing over him if you just go by body count. So I don't want anybody in office who praises or even in any way George Bush or these people. So yes, I'm afraid of this, and certainly there will be attempts if we get any traction. Right now we're a blip on the radar, and they've got many other problems, and they're not. I'm sure there might be somebody watching us and listening to us, watching us, but they don't think that we have any power right now. But when it gets to that point, yes, I would be. Certainly, they're going to not let us go easily.
Mm-hmm. I would argue that when Vermont gets to the point where we're going to secede, the United States is going to have so much more to worry about than little tiny Vermont. We're not even going to be left on the radar block. You're going to see. You're going to see. The Texas movement is starting to get a lot of traction now. The Texas independence movement. You got California falling apart. There's 3 secession movements there: northern, central, and southern. I mean, when this thing goes, the people of Alaska, the people of Hawaii who have been fighting for their independence for years, when they say little tiny Vermont go, it's over. The whole thing, it's coming down anyway. We just have to start getting prepared, and we have to start moving towards this. Very important that we do this.
We were talking about George Bush. Charlotte Dennett has written a book about the prosecution of George Bush for murder. She was here on my show, and we talked about her book. We don't, as independents, we don't have a candidate for state attorney general, and Charlotte is running for state attorney general in Vermont. Can we endorse Charlotte for the office of state attorney general in the November election?
I believe that I certainly endorse her. I'm voting for her, yeah.
Well, when you say we, who do you mean we?
He means the Second Vermont Republic.
As a group, as the Second Vermont Republic?
All the candidates?
We're 2 leading candidates and a candidate for senator. As the 3 of us, we can...
Well, sure, the 3 of us can.
I don't know anything about her. So
you
have to educate me on her.
George Bush for war crimes. Yeah. She's an attorney, and she's
is that all?
Yeah.
She's also a member of the Progressive Party State Committee. And you know her,
Robin.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
No.
But I'm not going to. I just have a problem with the whole Progressive Party, man. They run all these candidates, and then they basically they get all this time on VPR, Vermont Public Radio. They get on the Vermont Edition program, and then they basically say, well, I'm just running, I'm not running, I'm running, but I'm not going to collect money, or I'm just going to endorse a Democrat. And I try to get on Vermont Edition, I can't. Okay, I get 5 minutes of a recorded interview. I can't get on Vermont Edition to be a live interview and take questions from the audience. You know, this is what we're fighting here. We're fighting censorship too. Okay, I had to, you know, I've been arrested. You know, I didn't spend 3 months in prison like yourself, but I do know I'd never been arrested before, and that was the first time I got arrested for trying to participate in debates.